About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking.
Hey, welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to show you what I've been asked about quite a bit, and that is how to plan an RV route. We've obviously done that quite a few times because we're from Texas. All of our routes start in Texas and end in Texas. We don't want to go too long without visiting friends and family, so we do about a 3 to 4 month route at a time. Travel a certain section of the United States, come back around to Texas. If you're more centrally located, that will make your trek probably a little bit easier. Starting in Texas, we're way down south and have quite the hike to get up where we need to be or want to be. And it takes a good day to get out of Texas from where we're from. So anyway, the first thing is I'll show you what I like to have on hand when I'm planning a route. Number one, coffee, LOL, but true. Number two, we have a Thousand Trails membership. If you don't, no big deal. That actually makes it more complicating, in my opinion, to plan a route, so you have an easier time if you don't have one, but it does save you some money potentially if you have it. I don't sell it or anything, so I don't get anything off of this, but we got that and it has paid for itself for us because we are able to stay in a Thousand Trails Park near our hometown when we're back and stay for technically free, but it's actually $3 a night because we're 50 amp, but still that's really cheap for an RV park. Another thing I like to have sitting around is an old school atlas. I just like to be able to see with my eyes, kind of get a general direction of where we want to go. So I've already done a little bit of work on that and had made my list of what states we were wanting to visit. We originally planned to visit 17 states, all the states we have not been to except for Alaska and Hawaii this summer. But if you've been watching, you know that we are in the process of buying some land for an investment that will probably be ready for us to start working on sooner than later. So realistically, we probably have a couple months of travel and we won't be able to get to all 17 of those states. So this list that I originally made was including all 17 states. Where we need to start closest to Texas that we haven't been yet is West Virginia and Virginia. So I'm looking, first thing I'll be looking, are there any Thousand Trails parks in those areas? If so, are those in a desirable location? I'm not going to stay at a Thousand Trails just because it's free or $3 a night if it's not in a location that we want to visit. That's kind of pointless. So that's the first thing I'm going to be looking at. Then if I can't find a Thousand Trails, I'll be looking, I just simply Google, say, I actually don't know any cities. I've got to do my research in Virginia or West Virginia off the top of my head, but let's just say Washington, D.C., somewhere up there that we're trying to visit. Okay, then I would type in RV parks in Washington, D.C., and it will bring up tons of RV parks, and I just look at the reviews, look at the pictures, look at the pricing. Most places offer a cheaper pricing if you stay a week, so we try to stay a week at each place. That doesn't always happen depending on how we do it, but it is nice. It does add up. If you're wondering how much it costs, it averages for us about $50 a night per location, and it does help to get a weekly rate. Sometimes that'll knock that down to about $40 a night, just depending on what they have to offer at each location. Another thing I like to have is just my maps. We prefer, our sweet spot for traveling from place to place is about 4.5 to 5 hours. Hey, if it's 3, that's wonderful, but we have gone 6 to 7 hours before, and that really feels like quite a stretch for us. We do have 10 kids. That's just a long day for us, it takes us at least an hour longer to get anywhere with potty breaks and food stops and just pulling an RV. You can't go quite as fast as you could without pulling a fifth wheel. So anyway, our sweet spot is 3 to 5 hours, somewhere in there. So I like to map from place to place and see, do we want to stop somewhere in between? Okay, we want to go to this city and this state and this city and this state. That's 8 hours apart. So let's find somewhere cool in the middle that we can stay for even 3 nights, do something fun. Some people stay 1 night. For us, it feels like a whole lot to just stay 1 night in a location. You are leveling your RV, putting out your slides, setting up camp 1 night, all just to get up and drive again tomorrow. We have done that, and we do that on occasion, but our preference is to stay at least 2 nights, if not 3, and find somewhere cool in between that we can do something interesting in that area. So I'm gonna start here looking at West Virginia. Obviously, we're gonna have to get from Texas to West Virginia, but I don't want to start there because that's something easy I can figure out and find after I figure out what city we want to visit in each state, how long do we want to stay there, and then how far is it to the next one, and plan that out. Then I'll get into specific dates, actually booking places, and how long is it going to take us to get from Texas. We probably will do a 1-nighter, 2-nighter, 3-nighter in between. Okay, so I have just Googled places to visit in West Virginia. That sounds pretty amateur, right? But I've literally never heard of anyone saying, I visited this amazing place in West Virginia, and this was the place I visited. So I'm starting from ground zero on West Virginia. No clue where we would want to visit. So I've literally pulled up, just Googled places to visit in West Virginia. I've done this before, and so far it's worked out really well. I just look through those and decide, is this somewhere that we'd like to see? So one of the places that came up, and I have not made any decisions yet, but is New River Gorge National Park. We love to visit national parks. So likely I will home in on that, and I like to pick a city preferably, or a little outskirts of a city where it's within an hour and a half driving range of a national park, but also close to other fun things to do. That way we can get the best of both worlds. Obviously, COVID has thrown a wrench in some of our indoor exploration this season, but we've still found plenty to do, whether it was going to a museum and wearing our masks, or just focusing on outdoor activities. Something else that I really utilize and use, and if you do RV and you're not on this page, it is very helpful. Even if you don't full-time RV, you can probably join this Facebook group. It's called Full-Time Families. It's families mostly that do travel full-time, so there is tons of helpful information on there. I put all 17 states we wanted to visit and ask, where should we go in these states? So I have just gone back to look because I couldn't remember. I got so much response there, and just bukus of comments, that I couldn't remember if someone had mentioned West Virginia. When I went back to look, I had a comment in West Virginia. There's lots of outdoor activities in Fayette County. Our first national park is there too, New River Gorge. So that felt like good confirmation. I don't know anything else about any area in West Virginia, and even Googling, I didn't see anything that stood out other than this national park. So then I looked up Fayetteville and saw that there are neat outdoor things. I'm not sure that this is a place we want to stay a whole week. It might be more like a 4 or 5 night type place. but it looks like that'll be a good stop. So I will likely look for an RV park in the Fayetteville area. So that secures our first place, and now I'm going to move on over to Virginia. Somewhere we for sure want to go is Shenandoah National Park. A neat city that's about an hour and 15 minutes from there is Charlottesville. So Charlottesville is 3 hours and 11 minutes from Fayetteville in West Virginia. So that is a perfect stop there about midway in Virginia on our way over to the Virginia Beach area, where we can enjoy the city there and also go to Shenandoah National Park. So what I do is just kind of write that down, sort of a mess in my book. I write the distance in between each place, where we want to go. If there's a national park, I make a note of that. You'd think I remember those things. Or if there's some museum that I know for sure we're going to want to visit, I go ahead and make a note of that. Otherwise, I wait sometime until we are actually in the area to Google other things to do or ask around, or just a week before start looking into it. A lot of people are more pre-planned than us. We're not really huge pre-planners. We plan enough to make sure that we have a place to stay, because RV parks are hopping these days. You can't guarantee that you'll have a place to stay somewhere. So I definitely recommend doing some reservations ahead of time, and that is why we do that. It can be difficult to find somewhere to stay on the fly. I'm not exactly sure where we want to stay in the Virginia Beach area, but I know that's the general area we want to go to. I've actually just texted a friend. I have a really good friend who lives in Hampton, Virginia, which is in that area, to ask her, hey, where should we visit in this area? And P.S., we'd love to see you. So she'll probably get back with me, and that will give me an idea of exactly where we might want to stay in that area. But it is about 2 hours and 45 minutes from Charlottesville to the Virginia Beach area. So that's a perfect day's drive to get there, and that will be our next location. So looking around in Maryland, Baltimore seems like a pretty good location. You can get to Chesapeake Bay from there. It's about an hour drive to Washington, D.C. from there. And something that you might have known that I actually did not know is there are no RV parks in Washington, D.C. I don't even know if there's hotels there, do you? I don't know. Maybe you cannot stay there, and you may be like, duh, I had no idea. So, and that's the whole thing. Like, you don't have to know anything about any place to do this. When I looked up RV parks in Washington, D.C., all of the ones that popped up were in Maryland. So, anyway, so I'm thinking the Baltimore area would be great. There's a lot to do there. It's also kind of a central location to get to other places, and it's about 4.5 hours from Virginia Beach. So that is the next stop we'll make, is somewhere in that area. So you get the gist of how we pick our locations. Sometimes it's an area that tons of people talk about, and you just know, oh, I want to visit there. And other times, you might be a little more unaware of what there is to offer in the area. There are tons of ways to get that information. Facebook groups, like I said, Googling, those are my main go-tos. And then definitely if I have friends in the area, I have been really glad. I have actually quite a bit of friends scattered through the United States. So I've gotten a lot of input from friends as well in their areas of what is a really neat thing to see or do. So that is how we pick from place to place, and I kind of get that narrowed down. Then I go in, like I said, and start mapping out dates and pick an RV park to stay at. So that's what I'm going to show you now, is choosing an RV park for a specific location. Okay, so I have Googled RV parks, Fayetteville, West Virginia. So you can see RV parks with pictures and reviews come up. That's very helpful. Definitely check the reviews. Some places your rig might be too big to fit in. That does happen to us very seldom, but on occasion. Or some places do not have full hookups, so they may have water and electric but not sewer. And if you're like us, you want or need that sewer hookup. With 12 of us, that's pretty much a must-have on our list is full hookups. So I'm going to be scrolling through, clicking on some of these, seeing which one would fit our preference best. Okay, so this is interesting. I kind of wanted to start you out on like, oh, this is fast and easy. And some cities and states are super easy. There's a lot of awesome RV parks. It's fairly simple. Just take your pick, make a reservation online within minutes. Most RV parks have online reservation systems. Some you have to call. I definitely prefer online because I personally don't want the question, how many is in your party? And I'm hoping that it doesn't ask that on the online reservation system, because people tend to flip a little when you say 12. Once we explain we're the mom, dad, those are our 10 kids, most people accommodate us, but we have had a few turn us away. Not fun. So I love online reservation system. If you're a big family, remember that. You will need that. Anyway, West Virginia, one, I had to search to really find something to do there. Not that there's not a lot of great things, just not that I know of, but the national park is an obvious highlight. But finding an RV park is not panning out so simple either. So now I've gone from Googling RV parks in Fayetteville, West Virginia to Lansing, West Virginia, and now RV parks near New River Gorge National Park, because a lot of them are kind of country camping, tent camping, 28-foot RVs, no hookups, only water hookups, or electric and water, no sewer. So a lot of them have some negative reviews, things like that. So I'll let you know when I find our pick, but this one's going to take me a little bit of time. Some 10-minute ordeal, some a full 2 hours, no joke. When you're looking and all you see is things like campground, 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 campground in grassy meadows, and you have names like that, you know you're kind of in the boonies a little bit. I've been looking. Literally, I can't find anything. And then I see RV resort. I'm like, that's a good word. Resort and park are a lot better words typically than campground. Not always, but that says full hookups usually. So we're moving on down to Princeton from Fayetteville. It's just a little ways down, still close to the national park, and still a good drive to Charlottesville, Virginia afterwards. So I'm gonna see if I can get a spot there. Okay, I got us a spot actually booked. What I did, since I haven't planned from Texas yet to West Virginia, I kind of mapped out how many hours that was in between, and we'll probably stay somewhere around Memphis, Tennessee, and somewhere around Knoxville, Tennessee. We do have friends in Tennessee, so we may change that up if we can see them. And then we will get to West Virginia. So I left about 5 days in there. That way we can go at a comfortable pace and visit friends if we get a chance. So I'll show you what that park looks like. It's not like the nicest park, you know, that we've ever stayed at, but out of the options that I was seeing, definitely happy. It's got full hookups, big sites, so I'm content with this park. It's called Brush Creek Falls RV Resort. So anyway, one down, a lot to go. I'll keep you up on how that's going. I also wanted to show you something else that I use that I really like. It's an app called RV Diary. I'm not going to show you current trips because I want everybody knowing where we're at any given date, but here we have past trips, you can see, and I love it. Let me click on one. Here's one for Garden of the Gods RV Resort in Colorado Springs when we stayed there. So I've got all our information, trip dates, I put in the cost, everything right there. If they give you a campsite ahead of time, you can put in that. And then there's a notes section, and in the notes section you can see I have paid in full to let me know I had already paid for it, and then all the things that I had seen to do in the area that I thought we might want to do, I went ahead and put there. That way I can remember. Sometimes I book so many places I don't even remember what all there is to do in the area. Sometimes I may not even remember a national park is nearby. When you travel that much and visit that many places, it's not just fresh on your brain. Or maybe it's because I have 10 kids. You can comment below if you travel and say, yeah, I remember all that. Then I'll know it's because I have 10 kids. But I'm thinking it's because we travel a lot. I'm hoping it's because we travel a lot. But either way, that's what I gotta do. So I'll probably pick back up tomorrow because I'm not done planning and kind of show you the final result, or within a few days. But I think that's it for today. Okay, I had to pop back on and tell you. So I went straight into the next reservation when I Googled RV parks in Charlottesville, Virginia. I immediately saw a KOA and got excited. I knew we were in a civilized area, and so I jumped on that because we have a KOA rewards card which gets us a discount, and those parks are usually pretty nice. There was literally one spot left for the time we were going to be there, so I booked it. So that took about 5 minutes. The first one took probably an hour. So that just kind of shows you it's not a really lengthy ordeal, but some places are going to make your head spin while others are just going to be pretty straightforward and simple. There were also a lot of other RV parks, but I just decided to go with KOA since there was only one spot left. Okay, so I got our route, as much of it as we want to do, done in just a couple afternoons. I spent about 4 hours total, I think. I booked 7 RV parks in 5 different states. Ironically, I've had to cancel the first one already in West Virginia that I worked hard to get because we're not going to be leaving. We're actually not even sure if we're going to be able to go on this route, but you still get to see how we plan a route. It is rare that I cancel one. I've actually never canceled a route. I've canceled maybe that I can think of one RV park that when COVID hit, we decided to head back to Texas because that's when everything was kind of up in the air. But other than that, I can't recall ever canceling an RV park. But you still get the gist of how to plan a route, how we do it, and it has worked very well for us to travel to 30-something states. So anyway, happy planning. If you're getting ready to do this, feel free to message me questions or comment below, and I'll try to answer any questions if you have any about planning an RV route or anything else for that matter. Hope you're doing well, and we'll catch you next time.